Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Fan View podcast. Now, normally I get one of our correspondents on to discuss current matters at their club, but we've got a bit of a promotion party, so I've got two of them on. Firstly, let me introduce you to our new Leeds United correspondent. It's Ed Salinger. How are you, Ed?
I'm very good, mate. How are you?
Good. Not too bad at all. Congratulations to you, and a congratulations to our Burnley correspondent, Jack Toner. Jack, you're back.
Back again. Can't keep me away for long, can you?
Ed, obviously, this is your Planet FPL debut. Do you want to tell the listeners something about you?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Ed. I'm 47. I've been living in Leeds most of my life. So, been supporting Leeds since 1989, which is the first game I went to. I was incidentally Gordon Strachan's home debut. So, there you go. And we beat Portsmouth 1-0 from a forward called Ian Baird, if you remember him. Probably not.
No, actually.
I wouldn't have thought he would do. Then we
That's got to
went
be
up that
late
season.
80s. What are we talking here? Like 88,
89,
something
yeah,
like that?
89.
89, yeah.
It's the season we went up and wrecked Bournemouth on the final day, but we'll not talk about that.
Okay, we shan't. Ed got the memo for dress for a promotion party for the
It
benefit of
said
those on the
party.
audio. Jack's just rocked up in his t-shirt. I suppose Jack, that's been here, seen it, done it, literally got the t-shirt. Is it? Can we expect anything different from Burnley? To
Um,
you know what people are thinking, right? I don't need to kind of put words in your mouth.
yeah, I think we'll be a different side again. I think if anything, it will go closer to like what it was under company, under Dash, sorry, rather than company. And yeah, I fully expect it to be a different season next season. But whether we end up with the same results, let's see. I think if anything, we should be better equipped. Parker's style of play should translate more into being that sort of bottom five team in the Premier League. We should hopefully be more competitive in some of the games. I remember I think it was the home game against your team last season, season before, yeah. You said like first 10 minutes we were really fast out the blocks under company, but it was just so naive. And I think the Dash style was very much, keep it tight at the back, and we'll try and be in it up until 70th minute, and then maybe we'll roll the dice sort of thing. So I think from our defensive record this season, I'd like to think that whilst yes, the quality of striker in the Premier League is going to be much tougher to face, that we're hopefully going to give it a better go than last season because it can't be as bad as that.
Uh, it can't, but it might be. I don't suppose if I ask you on correspondent week if you're going to more likely to finish sixth or 18th, you're going to say sixth.
18th.
Yeah, I'd say so. I particularly want to speak about obviously his defensive record we'll come back to, but first there is a title to win for you both here. You're both on 97 points going into the weekend's final day. Ed, your team goes to Plymouth, who are 23rd and effectively relegated, and Jack, you're at home to Millwall, who still have a chance of getting into the playoffs. Ed, to you first. I know obviously you had quite a bit of a party at Ellen Road on Monday night with a very good victory against Bristol City. Does winning a title matter or not?
I think so because I don't want to be rude to Jack, but I just feel like we've been the best team this season, and they just have the awards, the championship awards, and we've largely been snubbed in it. Like Joe Pirro's not in it. Gus Hamer, for some bizarre reason, got Player of the Season despite having less assists than Junior Firpo. I mean, that really should have gone to Trafford or Dan James, but never mind. But yeah, we just it's just a let's just win it and just. It's also because of what happened under Bielsa when we won the league with the COVID, and so we couldn't really celebrate it. So we'll win it this time as well. But if we don't, I'll be fine with it. But the thing is, that Leeds do fall apart again quite regularly, so we could lose 12-0 to Plymouth and keep them up. Who knows?
Um, yeah, it's not quite falling apart this time, is it? You've done what you've achieved. The Leeds banter themselves, just out of interest. When you win a
I,
game, do
it's
you
not
sing it
beyond the
yourselves?
it's not beyond the realms that we started that chant, to be honest. I don't know who actually started it, but it could well have been Leeds. So maybe it's a load of rubbish anyway. Like I think we've got the best record for goals in the last 5 minutes. Like two of our biggest wins against Sunderland and Sheffield United were injury time winners. So it's a load of crap, isn't it? Like, all teams fall apart because they're not Man City, basically. That's the way football is.
I mean, you couldn't be further away, really, with Plymouth away at the weekend. So, I mean,
And it's a
does
12:30 kickoff. We've got a terrible record in 12:30 kickoffs.
interesting. What I mean is, it feels like you had your party Monday night, basically.
Yeah, because it was the last home game. Yeah.
Yeah. Jack, does it matter to you? You go into the game at the weekend thinking, I hope they slip up, or does it not
Um,
matter?
I'd like to win it. I think I don't want to just sound, because we're really in the second spot here and it looks all set to be Leeds. I don't think I'm as bothered as much because we absolutely smashed it under company and it meant nothing for the season afterwards. I think I agree with Ed. I think Leeds have been, as a whole, probably the best side. I think whilst our defensive record's been remarkable, I think Leeds have shown it at both ends probably all season, whereas we was a little bit cagey for the first half and then sort of changed after the January window. Yeah, we'd like to, but I think to be honest, with the running that we'd had and how far Leeds were ahead, I think that probably added to the fact of we wasn't really that bothered about winning it because it was us, Sheffield United, really that were battling for that second spot, and to for us to win promotion against them was massive, really. So I think psychologically for Leeds to come second would probably be worse, considering that you guys were first and what was it, like 7 or 8 points clear with not probably similar to go, 7 or 8 games to go. So I think, yeah, it'd be nice to do, but I'm not going to lose any sleep if we don't.
Do you agree with what Ed said? Leeds have been the best team.
I think so. I think at both boxes probably yes. I think whilst our defensive record has been great, I think what was it, 12 nil-nils will, well, potentially 13 after Saturday, but let's see. 12 nil-nils will finish on. I think whilst that has probably done the business for us and we've only lost two, that's just kept us ticking over. I think there's probably been, the defensive record's probably masked over some of the cracks of, a forward line that hasn't exactly been free flowing and, free scoring like Leeds have. But take nothing away from us. I think we've probably turned it on massively so in the business end of the season, and we've got it over the line really, and it just probably changed a little bit with Edwards changing the dynamic coming in January.
Yes, let's talk Marcus Edwards because when we last spoke, we didn't. It's obviously a player I know quite well. I haven't been at Tottenham as a youngster. Have two teams ever in the championship ever finished on 100 points? I mean, two teams both doing it. Has that ever happened?
I don't think so. I think it's remarkable though because for the Vincent Company team that we had, that was 101 points, and that felt like we blew everyone completely away that season. I think we fell off it a little bit for the last few games and kind of stumbled over the line a little bit. But for some of the criticism that Parker had at the start of the season, it feels crazy to say that we're going to potentially finish 1 point behind that tally as well.
I mean, statistically, Ed, you by far look like you've been the best team this season. 93 goals scored, 29 conceded, goal difference of plus 64. Your XG of 86.2, this data is taken from FBref, is over 20 better than the next team, which is Coventry. And actually, despite the fact, obviously, Jack's team has an incredible record of 15 goals conceded in 45. Expected goals against, you're also best there, 29.2, which is 8 better than Jack's actually expected goals conceded of 37. So the data backs up that you've been the best team by a distance, Ed. In terms of expected goal difference, what it actually means is your expected goal difference this season was plus 57.1. Burnley's next best, plus 18.
Wow.
That's 3 times more, mate. So are you, in theory, Ed, are you one of the strongest teams to come up since Bielsa's Leeds?
I think so, but then you could also look at it as one of the weakest championships. So you can look at
Okay.
it both ways. I think if you swapped our goalkeepers, if we had James Trafford all season and they had Elen Meslier, I would like to see what the table would look like because I think we could have smashed all
I
records with
wouldn't.
Trafford and goal.
Jack, for the benefit, just said I wouldn't.
Well, yeah, fair
You've
enough.
recently changed with Coldalo in goal. Has that
Finally,
helped you
yes,
get over the
finally.
line, Ed?
Oh, I think so, but I don't want to. I don't want to stick the knife in on Meslier because he started as our number one as a kid, which especially as a goalkeeper is difficult to do, and he does have his good points, but he just makes so many stupid basic errors. You must remember the game against Sunderland
I
where
was watching
we
that
were
live.
2-1 up, and it was terrible, terrible. You'd be annoyed if Harry let that goal in. I mean, it was just so bad. So yeah, he had to go, but he's hung around too long in the team. But he got to a point of no return. Basically, I think it was Swansea. I think it was Swansea the game when we led twice, and then no, we were 2-0 up. That was it. Or I can't remember. Anyway, we led twice, and he just cold dropped the ball from a set piece, and they scored the rebound. And then he should have saved their equaliser as well. And it's just like nah. Like Cardala's a Welsh number one. He's not a chump, so and he's been fine. So
Is
yeah,
he
that
is he
has
good enough to
definitely
be your
helped.
keeper next year?
Well, that's a big question. I mean, he's going to get a lot of work. I'll tell you that. Um, I think we should look to buy someone. Yeah, but in the meantime, he's fine. He's a decent keeper. But he's not really, to be honest, since he's come in, he's not really had much to do. He's made like a couple of decent saves. That's it. We've been that dominant since then. It's just been quite an easy ride for him.
How good's your keeper been, Jack? You mentioned him, James Trafford. I think that's sort of this time last year, and debates about Muric and Trafford, and feeling like maybe you should have gone with the experienced player first rather than put him in. And Trafford struggled a bit. But I mean, 15 goals conceded is madness, mate.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's it. I think Muric was great for us in that system for company in the championship, because we were more like what Leeds was, where it was, we were the goal scorers, and a lot of our attacks started right from the defence, and arguably Muric is, you know, one of the best keepers probably in the championship for playing out and distribution from his feet. He was solid enough for what we needed at the back. Um, and I think company was probably right, really, in seeing that there was a weakness there, and going and getting Trafford in. I just think like a lot of our signings last season, it was probably all a bit too inexperienced. And I think Trafford had played the season before in League One at Bolton, and then he'd stepped right up to the Premier League. So I think for him, it's probably a better arc for him to he's learned something from the Premier League, but this season's really cemented and said, you know what, you are a top keeper, and you're probably, you are going to go far. So I think it's done his development the world of good. And I think he goes into the Premier League now, and hopefully he stays with us, and he has another solid season. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's suitors coming after him. I think obviously with us getting promoted, it might change it a little bit. I'd like to think that he has another year of being, a keeper for us, and then see what happens before he moves on. Because I think it's only a matter of time before he gets that move. I think playing in a team where he knows the system isn't going to do him any harm. But yeah, he's been a massive part of that this season. I was very surprised we actually started the season with him. I think with us getting in Planet from Ipswich, which I think Ipswich fans absolutely crucify us for, because they said, "Why have we spent £50 million on Muric and giving you a keeper that's twice as good as him at shot stopping?" He looked, got promoted with Ipswich last season. I thought he was going to be our number one. We needed to cash in and make money out. So I was surprised that Trafford, sort of started for us. But yeah, he's looked great. Obviously, probably the two penalty saves at Sunderland was probably the performance of the season, really, because we looked like that was going to be it then. Uh, for our defensive record a little bit, because we hadn't conceded in so many games, and we hadn't lost since the start of the season. So that was massive. But yeah, he's been crucial to that defense, really.
Who would you say is the kind of biggest factor towards this brilliant defensive record? Is it the keeper? Is it the defense? Is it Scott Parker, the way he sets the team up?
I think it probably starts initially with the manager. I think, because they have a style of play. You might have seen the sort of video going around from the weekend. We lose the ball at QPR. Someone's one-on-one v Roberts. You literally reach down and pick your pint up if you're watching it from home, and you look back at the screen and you go, Jesus, there's 10 people behind the ball. So that's how he wants us to play. It's very cliche. All the defenders have said, it doesn't just start with us, it starts at the front of the pitch. But I think, the team does embody that. So I think whilst Trafford has made some, quality saves, it's not all down to him. Likewise, not all down to the centre halves. Whilst I think we've, yes, got some quality individuals in there. It's been a collective effort, really. They couldn't have all done it without each other. But it's probably how we've been set up, really, I would say, is one of the main reasons.
You can't help but just keep looking at 15 goals conceded in 45. How many games was it in a row you didn't concede? Was it 13?
Yeah, something like that.
Do you go to games thinking they're shit? We're not conceding today. Do you have that kind of feeling at the moment?
Yeah, I think it has changed since, sort of post Christmas, but I think at the start of the season it just felt so frustrating of going, it's just going to be a snooze fest and a 0-0. And I think whilst people wanted us and the fans were saying, come on, let's let the leash off, I was like, I don't know what the answer is, because I don't think we go and score two. So if we then concede one, it's, we then end up drawing games 1-1 rather than 0-0. So what do we really want? So I think Edwards changed the dynamic in that. But I think, yeah, it's been a bit of a weird one amongst the fan base. It's not felt as positive as, a 100-point season. all throughout the season. I think a lot of us probably owe Parker a bit of apology in how we've probably felt towards him. Whether we've become a little bit too self-entitled or what, I don't know. But I think it's not helped with season upon season. For the past 3 seasons, we've had 3 different teams basically, 2 different managers. It's been a lot of change. So I think it wasn't the most entertaining football at the start of the season, which didn't help the sort of fans' perspective on it really.
Elephant in the room. Is Scott Parker definitely your manager next season in the Premier League?
I'd like to think so. Um, it would be a bit of a stretch, I would have thought, um, given that, he's been sacked twice in the Premier League for him to go and get, the job that he's been touted for is obviously your job, the Spurs job.
I mean, he's not my first choice, Jack. I
Yeah,
got to
exactly.
be honest.
Yeah. But stranger things have happened, business company going to Bayern Munich. So,
Like, I wasn't necessarily lacing it, the question in terms of links with Tottenham, and obviously having played for the club, it's kind of natural that his name's going to be linked. He has been actually every time our jobs come up. It was more from the perspective, could you change? We discussed this last year. That could the club have looked at him and gone, "You're a specialist at getting out the Championship, but you might be short in the Premier League." Is there any chance the club decides to change?
that was my concerns. And that was, I thought when we'd first got him, it was a little bit uninspiring compared to company. And I think that obviously in hindsight, that's done him a lot of injustice. But listening to all the players, that it feels like there's a real collective team spirit, which has played a massive part in us getting promoted this season. And whilst last year, yes, we went and added individual quality, it just didn't gel. They were too young and inexperienced. So I think Parker's the man. I think, if he can continue that next season, I don't think we need to be, we're not going to be anywhere near, you know, the top 10 technically gifted teams in the Premier League. And I think, as to have a manager that addresses that and goes, you know what, I understand that, and we're going to play a way that makes us hard to beat. I think it lends for a good season, and I just want to see some continuity. Really, I'd be pretty devastated if we were to rip that all up and start again because you know w let's say history repeats itself and the 3 promoted teams go back down again. I don't think us keep chopping and changing is gonna work. We're gonna get a rotten apple at some point. So I think sticking with it is absolutely the right thing to do.
Okay. Ed, similar question to you. You've been linked with Mourinho over the last week or so. I know there's kind of a little bit of a split sentiment about obviously Daniel Farke has done extremely well with you, but again, it's long been speculated. Do you consider changing if you get up? And there has been speculation that Leeds would change. How do you feel?
Oh, it's a really tricky one because Farke has done brilliant. Like that's just can't really argue that. But at the same time, his record in the Premier League is woeful, albeit Norwich did not invest in their team. So what's he meant to do? So he 100% deserves a chance. But if the owners think we can get someone of Mourinho standing, then I don't think many Leeds fans would say no to that.
We had a discussion on our Patreon Q&A earlier in the week and said, look, ultimately, if Leeds did get hold of Mourinho, and you know what I think about him, we'd all turn around and go, Leeds don't get relegated. We'd all think automatically you stay up and someone else would go. You just couldn't imagine Mourinho getting relegated, could you? The stability that it would give you from a defensive standpoint and his experience. So if that's available, the club has to think about it, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. But I don't know if the money's going to work. Like if we pay his wages, can we buy anyone? We're redeveloping the stadium, so money's already tight, and I'm assuming we're close to PSR because as if we won't be. So I don't know. I
So
don't
you
know.
don't think the club will spend big? Because I've heard that there's likely to be quite a bit of an investment and injection of cash where
I
you
would.
probably can spend sort of circa 100 million.
Yeah, the owners have the money. That's not in doubt. But it's just whether they will. We didn't buy anyone in January, which was a big bone of contention at the time. I mean, it's worked out fine, but it was because we were struggling to score goals. And you think Burnley got Marcus Edwards, Sheffield United bought Brereton Diaz. I mean, everyone was active in the loan market at least, whereas we did nothing. So I don't know. Until it happens, I'm not. I just don't want to get excited by rumours until they actually happen. Would be my take on it.
So ultimately, you would be prepared to change though, if someone
Oh,
of that
100%. Yeah,
caliber
well,
is available.
look at what Southampton did with forgotten his name now.
Not
Nigel
Martin.
Adams was it? Yeah, when they got posh, and then what Bournemouth have done
Oh
with
yeah.
Gary O'Neill. It's what happens. It's the way of the world. He's typecast as a brilliant Championship manager, Farke, not a brilliant Premier League manager. So that's the way of the football, isn't it?
And it's similar with Scott Parker, which is why, I mean, it's bizarre. We're talking about both your teams potentially getting to 100 points this weekend and maybe saying, is the right thing to do to change the manager? Because I think that it's been identified you need a very good Premier League manager to now stay at this level. And Farker and Parker have obviously both suffered relegations. I mean, Jack, you reflect actually, you look at the names he had at Fulham, and they were too defensive for what they had, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I just personally wouldn't want to change. I think, in terms of if you look at it, last season we had this season's Bayern Munich manager, and we were dreadful. So I just don't know what name we would get there in between that would add anything. I think the challenges are already there. I think we learned the first time, with Dyche that we went up, we came back down, we were stronger to go back up again. I think style plays a massive part that probably we've all talked about and all seen it that you know people want to put bums on seats in the Championship to get more money to help promotion, which people want to play attractive football. So that's been the model and been successful in the Championship. That doesn't lend well into the Premier League. I think we blended that quite well with Parker. So whilst I think he's not had the best record in the Premier League. It's not ended well on both times. I think for him now, and he probably deserves to get that bit of a longer chance, really. And I think the uncertainty for Farker won't help him. It won't help the club. I think for you guys, what do you do? If you're going to spend money, how much money do you give him if you're already having the doubts in there? So I'd like to think that we put all our eggs in the Parker basket. It feels like it's a more close connection between Burnley and the manager. I feel like company always felt like it was a stepping stone, and as soon as we got promoted, it was always like, oh, the links between him and Spurs were a lot stronger than that, than what Parker's was. It always felt like that was going to come to an end at some point. So, yeah, I'm delighted and happy with Parker. So hope we stick.
I wouldn't necessarily look at Tottenham, keep looking at your managers as a compliment, Jack. Are you able to spend this summer? What's the expectation?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I think we recouped quite a lot of money from players last year. I think there was a few out on loan, like Amdouni's potentially coming back. I don't know if Benfica will take up the option on him. So whether that means we stick with him or whether we try and move him on. I'd like to think we would spend bits, but I think Parker sort of alluded to a little bit of he understood that we probably did too much in the season before. So I think we will probably be a bit smarter with what we had. I think last time we went too much quantity. Yes, the quality was there, but it just disrupted the whole team too much. So I think if we did, it would be, um, just adding here and there. The contracts are probably a big one as well with Egan Riley and Brownhill currently being out of contract in the summer. I think Parker said he's confident that we get both of them over the line. So they'd be, that'd be massive to us. But I think not forgetting really that every time, we've had a different team every season. We've had, players on loan that didn't come back. Whereas I think we've been smarter this season, like with, there's apparently clauses in both Humphreys, Edwards, and Anthony's contract that we sign all three of those in the summer. Same with Zian Fleming because he was a loan, but one of those that was purely just to spread the payment really. So the board are quite smart with how they do business. It's not just where we give money up front. There's quite a lot of installments and where they do loans with obligations. So I think even if we couldn't necessarily look to spend as much this year, they might work it out in a way that we can sort of spread it. So I'd probably, if I was to hazard a guess, I'd say between maybe 60 and 70 million we maybe spend.
Okay. Interesting. You mentioned a couple there. Fleming's got 12 league goals this season, Anthony, 7. Josh Brownhill is your top goal scorer with 16. I also saw an interview with him the other day, and I was suggesting he would almost certainly stay. He spoke so highly of Scott Parker, so I'd be pretty certain he
Yeah,
would he would
like to
stay.
think so, yeah.
I'd be less certain of what Egan Riley's intentions would be, and I think there'd be plenty looking at him
Yeah.
in terms of other Premier League clubs as well. That number of Brownhill being your top scorer on 16, we've looked at some of the clubs who've done quite well when they've come up recently, the likes of Fulham with Mitrovic, Bournemouth with Solanke. How big of a hole is this in terms of a centre forward at the moment?
Yeah, we absolutely need one. I think we'd we'd lost quite a lot of players in the summer. And then we had, I think there was two clubs that came in for Foster and Koleosho for a collective fee of like 45 million that we'd kind of stood firm on. And as it's been that they've been two players that haven't really played that much part of our season. Koleosho's probably only real contribution to note was the goal against Leeds in the 1-0 win. But other than that, the players we've not really seen. Foster was probably our main striker. I think he scored two of all season. Yes, he's been hampered by injuries. He's worked hard for the teams, but the goals just aren't there. I'd love it to work out for him. He seems like a great lad, but had a lot of challenges, but it's just not quite there. So I think he'll still be here next season, but whether we add someone else to strengthen it, for those that aren't too aware, Fleming's usually a number 10, but we've played him, probably as the lone striker, because he's had more goals in than anyone else, really. We've let Rodriguez go. So that is probably the biggest hole for us, really, of getting in a forward, when you've looked really, and that's why what people have said has Parker gone heavy on the defence this season because he's not had a Mitrovic or a Solanke to get him out of the Championship. Brownlow's numbers have been great, but it's always felt like it's not really been sustainable. He's just been right place, right time, and on pens as well. So it'll be a massive addition if we keep him. Yeah, but is he going to get us 10 goals in the Premier League? I'd be very surprised. Especially from midfield, he doesn't find the space like you do in the Championship. So yeah, for me, a proper striker would be top of the list really, and it'd be interesting to see us play Fleming in his actual position. Not seen him there once all season, so him playing behind the striker, he's a strong, mobile lad. So I think he would add that bit of physicality to us in the Premier League.
Okay. Ed, for you, Joel Perot, top scorer with 19. Good enough for the Premier League?
That is so hard. If you'd have asked me a few months ago, I'd have said he turns like the Queen Mary. And no, but lately he's been absolutely outstanding. Like he scored 4 goals against Stoke and against Bristol City. Honestly, he was like a mixture of Firmino and I don't know, Harry Kane, whatever. But he was really really good. So and I don't know if you've seen the goals, but the pass he played for Nonto for the second was KDB like. So I'm hopeful. I am hopeful, but you
Right,
just
just
cannot
compared him to three Premier League greats there, Ed. So I assume he's good enough, mate.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We're going to win the league. Don't worry about that. But it's just you just cannot over or underestimate how much the difference in quality there is between the two leagues. I mean, I just keep going back to Leif Davis, who got was it 18, 20 assists in the Championship when Ipswich came up, and what's he done this season? So there's just such a marked difference in quality. They're just very, very hard to say. But we certainly need cover because there's no one else. Bamford, I assume, will go, but even if he doesn't, he's never, never fit. And Joseph, you remember he started against Chelsea in the cup and looked really good. He's not really kicked on. So we just don't have anyone. So we need to invest in a striker either way. But I'm hopeful that Pirro will be half decent.
So you both need strikers. What else do you need, Ed?
Oh, everywhere really. Because again, I mean, there's an argument to say there's not a single one of our players is Premier League quality. Whereas I think last season you'd have said Somerville and Ruta definitely Premier League quality. So Aya Tanaka, who's been arguably the signing of the season for any team, has been a brilliant. But again, he's quite small lad. He's a DM. He's quite small, so great in the Championship. But when he comes against the athletic power midfields in the Premier League, will he be good? We just don't know. But yeah, so we're probably going to need a left back because Junior Firpo's in his last year of his contract, so he's probably going to go. He might not. I mean, I don't think he's had too many offers, so he
Has he
may stay. But
improved?
yeah, a lot. But
Okay.
again, this is from like our fullbacks are basically wingers because we're so dominant on the ball. That is not going to happen in the Premier League. So he can't defend. Like his defense hasn't got any better, but he just hasn't needed to. I remember when he got absolutely ended by Tariq Lamptey a few years ago. It was quite embarrassing to watch. So yeah, I'm sure you remember him not being a good defender, but yeah. So and we need reserve left back for sure, if not a main left back. I mean, there's not a position in the pitch where we don't need improvement. Like even Darlow's done fine, but as we said earlier, he's done okay. But is he a Premier League keeper? I don't know. I'm not qualified to say that. So there's no position where we think no, don't need anyone.
Right.
Apart from
So
right back, maybe right back because
th
Jaden Bogle's been really good.
this is where you can understand why the concern is there from the neutral. I think it's actually building from neutrals now. Like I don't want to see teams get promoted and be shit and go straight back down. I think particularly for you, Ed, as well, because of the size of the football club, it does feel like there's more of a chance for you to get if I mean, would you take 17th now?
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
okay. I
But who's
wondered if
who's
that
finishing 18th? That's my question. Who's finishing 18th if we get 17th?
well, this is also part of the problem that, to be honest, whoever's impacted next year might be by change of managers, i.e., a stable one. I don't know, like a Thomas Frank left Brentford, or a club like that suddenly walks into sort of 11, 12 injuries. Is almost like the only way you'd see it at the moment. 'Cause you look at even clubs like that, which are relatively small, and go, ain't going to be in no trouble. Going to be absolutely fine.
What if Tottenham win the Europa and then go on the Champions League run? Do you think they'll scrap the league off again? Have a little relegation
Could do,
battle?
could be a chance. I mean, at the moment, the strength for some of the teams in the league now, I don't even think it's embarrassing to say, yeah, maybe Tottenham might keep their manager and might be back down there again next year. You might have heard me also say, Ed, that I thought Leeds would probably be the only club daft enough to give Ange a job.
Oh, he's just a crap Bielsa though, isn't he? So I don't think we can have him. I don't think we can have him. He is
Ex-
he's the sort of batshit manager that would fit at Leeds, though, it has to be said.
Accepted at the moment. So, how do you stay up, mate?
Well, the simple answer is money, isn't it? It's investment. If, as you said, our owners do have money, so if they're prepared to spend it, then we got a chance. But without investment, you're screwed. Simple.
So, if I said United, yes or no, do you think you'll stay up?
Yes, I'm going to say yes, just because I'm just hopeful we'll spend a bit of money. And the performance we put on against Bristol City was 100% Premier League quality. Granted, Bristol City are not, but it just was. It was just the intensity of it and the passing and just everything about it was just Premier League. So I'm going to say yes, but come to me after 5 games in and we haven't scored a goal, and then maybe I'll change my mind.
Jack, same question.
I'd probably say no. It's hard to say yes. I think looking now between 14th and 17th in this season, United, Everton, Spurs, West Ham, you can't just say that you're better than any of those teams. But obviously, once the ball kicks, is the first ball's kicked to the start of next season, then it might look differently. Yeah, it's hard to say yes.
It's depressing. I can't. I mean, I remember speaking to you 2 years ago, and we were so positive about your
Yeah,
chances, right? Okay, it didn't work out, but it's depressing that a period of real happiness for both of you, that almost the worst thing you can do is think about the long term at the moment. Let's just enjoy the success, see what the summer happens, and not think about it too much. Because if you do, you start thinking we're in trouble.
yeah. I think for me that's why last season 24 points. We replaced all of our squad, and then the manager effed off and left at the end of the season. I was like, it doesn't get any worse than that. So if we come up, do the same again, and just keep the squad, the majority of the squad, and keep the manager, and we just, at least we know we're in that cycle of hopefully improving over the longer term. That's all you can really hope for. I think the frustrating thing for me is I've seen my side get into Europe, and we just didn't invest, and we slowly declined. So, you know, 14th to 17th looks tough, but you look at the teams at the top of the league, and they weren't teams that were there 6, 7 years ago. So it is possible. And that's why I say some of it I think is down to the style of play of, if there's a team that can come up there and make it a bit ugly. The biggest compliment I'd seen this season was we played Watford, and our one of the club's commentators had put something on. He'd retweeted it, and he'd literally caught him. He'd bit, and he was like, "Oh, this guy had put a tweet saying Burnley are horrible again," and he was like kicking off, and I was like, "That's good. I want to be horrible again. The more horrible we can be, that's the best thing. Because if we go to the Premier League and Vincent Company was Man City Mark II, you aren't as good as Man City, and you're not as good as the 10 teams underneath them. So if we want to go up there and do something different, Dyche got slated for it. I'm happy for Parker to get slated for it. Just go up there and just make us horrible and just try and do it a different way, because trying to play football the same way isn't gonna work.
So basically, you're saying to me, you want to come up and you want to shithouse.
Yes, 100%.
I wish you luck with that. But there is a case to say that that might be the best way of doing it in the start. I
Yeah,
think, like to mention Thomas Frank again, we felt like that about Brentford when they came up. But also within that, they had a Tony figure who obviously helped them would score goals. But they've adapted now. They are good to watch again now, like they were when they originally got promoted. So that adaptability is like, really important. So in a weird way, Ed, maybe because of how good they've been defensively in terms of the goals conceded, maybe they're set up better than you are to stay
Maybe,
up.
but as you said, our stats are actually better than Burnley's, so
Yeah.
maybe it's more similar than you think. I mean, when we came up last time under Bielsa, we finished ninth. Now there was a lot of luck in that, I think, and obviously we had Rafinha, which that's very lucky because nothing about Victor Orta and the way he recruited for Leeds suggested he'd end up with Rafinha, but we managed to look at, and we bought Rodrigo as well. Like whatever you think of him, he was a Premier League quality player, so
Yep.
we did spend money. So it's as simple as that. If we spend money, we've got a chance. If we don't, we don't.
Do you think this team's better than that team?
Oh, please don't ask me that. I think the players are better, but I think what Bielsa did with it was remarkable, and the chemistry and the synergy of that team. I'm still not over it, to be honest. It was that good. I mean, we were one of the most exciting teams in the world to watch. I mean, it was great. So
Oh, we
I'm
loved
not, and
watching you, mate, because you were either brilliant or it reminds me of someone I watch most weeks, actually. To turn into a car crash quite quickly. Would you been a Farke off in a heartbeat to have Bielsa back?
that's me personally. I would, but I also recognise that it wouldn't work. So no, and I don't want to be nasty to Farke because he's done a really, really good job. But it's just it's context. Like Leeds had been rubbish for years before Bielsa came, and he turned up with the same squad that was absolute cack the first season or the last season. And he turned up with one difference, which is Barry Douglas. Do you remember him, the Wolves fullback? He was actually 5 million in FPL because that's how good he was for Wolves. And then they sold him to us. He never even played in the Premier League. Then he got injured and was crap for us anyway. But anyway, that was the exact same squad. We turned up, played Stoke, who'd just been relegated, so they were favourite, and we absolutely marmalised them. Then went on to beat Derby, which is Frank Lampard's Derby when he had people like Mount and Tomori on loan, killed them, and it was just an absolute ride from there. He taught me to love football again, did Bielsa. So I can't say he's a job for life for me.
Yeah,
But
it's the attachment you had was kind of emotional as well. Did you just say marmalised, by the way?
is that not a word?
I love it. I'm going to bookmark that and keep it. You wouldn't have Dyche back, would you, Jack?
Tough because he's probably the best manager I've ever seen, and probably given us the best days that I've seen in my generation. I think if the board came in a few years earlier, it might have worked, but I think it was that they wanted to go in two different directions. So whilst I would have him back again, it's the same thing. I wouldn't choose to get rid of Parker, but you know, if you were to say to me now that Spurs go in a direction and they take Parker, yeah, 100% he'd be top of my list. I think out of people that can get a team up and turn a team that's probably the worst three in the division into someone that can be finishing five from bottom or four from bottom, I think he'd be the man.
Jack, do you think Scott Parker's good enough to be Tottenham manager?
No, I think he needs more experience in the Premier League. I don't think it would work out. When you look at Ange and the pressure and the stick that he's got, I don't think it would take long for people to look at Parker and go, you know, three 2 seconds in the Premier League. I think they'd turn quite quickly, even though he was a bit of a legend at your place. I don't think he'd have
Well, I wouldn't
enough.
say legend. He
Not
had one
legend,
one
but he's
very good season.
yeah, yeah. I don't think there'd be enough in the bank there for him to be immune to all that kind of stuff.
I think we'd concede less, but we'd score less, probably
Yeah.
to sum that up. Tell you a question for you both for both of you. I'll start with you, Ed. What would be Leeds' best 11 right now?
I think the difficult one is Dan James on Nonto because James pretty much the best player in the league last season. But he does affect the way we play in that he's a lot wider than Nonto plays and he doesn't have the same skill set. So it is tricky, but definitely. I mean, the centre backs pick themselves, Rodon and Ampadu. I assumed Darlow in goal because Mellier's
Yeah.
been crap, and then Firpo and Bogle have been amazing, and I don't say that lightly. So that's your back four, and then Tanaka, shoe in, probably Gruev, but I mean Rothwell's been really good, but he's more attacking than Gruev is. So I'd probably say Gruev in the Premier League. Mind you, to be fair, we won't have him anyway because he's on loan from Bournemouth. And then out wide,
That's Rothwell
probably
for clarity, isn't it?
yeah, Joe Rothwell. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's injured anyway, but yeah, he's Bournemouth, so we won't have him. And then on the right, it would probably be Dan James, but Nonto's a hell of a sub. Then on the left, your own Manor Solomon, who I assume we will not be having next season.
Why
with
not?
Pirro up front because I doubt we'll be able to afford him.
I'm confused because I mean, before this, I was very much reading that Leeds are prepared to go and spend. So does he not get bought permanently? I'm also trying to sell him here. I know he's been good for you.
It's quite possible, but I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't follow the finances too closely because I prefer to wait till stuff happens rather than speculate about it. But yeah, maybe we are after him. He's been good, but again, it's the championship. He can look good in the championship. He has been good though. I can't fault him.
Yeah, yeah. I very much thought he would do well for you. In a side that's going to obviously ball dominate and attack well, but you are playing against inferior opponents. Yes, obviously.
I hope I
Um,
picked 11 players there. I might have picked 10.
Front two or a 10 and a 9, if you will.
Well, it's
So,
4-2-3-1. So am I missing a 10? Oh, Aronson. Sorry, yeah, Aronson has
yeah,
been playing 10, which is a whole topic in itself.
go on.
Because, well, because we had Ruta who was brilliant, and then out of the blue he left, and we never replaced him. That's the biggest bone of contention with Leeds fans is that we never replaced Ruta. So as it turned out, we scored 93 goals, outside chance of 100 given who we play at the weekend. So you can't really argue it. But Aronson's not a creative player; he's a runner. So when Pirro's dropped back, it's done fine, but we definitely need a 10. But I guess at the moment, Aronson gets in our best team because he's done fine. It's just he's not great.
If that 11 started game week 1 next year, and obviously we haven't got fantasy prices, but which player would you be most keen to see their price? I think that's the one to keep an eye on.
I'm going to have to say Bogle. Unless if Firpo's still there, I'd say Firpo. But one of the fullbacks.
It'd be 4.5, Ed.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, probably should be four to be fair because we're going to see the million goals.
This
But
is
yeah,
it. Who wants the? It's like every time we look at a 4.5 defender, every start of every season for a promoted club, they all end up shit, pretty much. I mean, even take ones like Alfie Doughty that did all right. It wasn't being spoken about in pre-season at all, basically.
the thing with our fullbacks, if you watch them, like I think virtually every goal they've scored, which is a few, has been from the centre forward position. Like, I'm not comparing them to these two, so don't laugh. But they are basically our Sterling and Sane. That is how important they are to our attack. Is
Okay.
that sort of thing of getting to the back post and whipping it across and the other guy coming in for a tap in, or getting on the end of a Solomon cross for a central goal from 6-7 yards. So they've been great, but we just won't in the Premier League. We won't have the ball domination to be getting those type of chances often.
Okay. Jack, best 11 at the moment.
Yeah, I think most of the defence picks itself. You'll be surprised to hear. So yeah, Trafford, Stev, and Egan Riley is the two centre halves and the keeper. Right back's got to be Connor Roberts. Left back's probably one of the only positions that you can really have a bit of a toss of a coin for. Basher Humphries, who was on loan from Chelsea, who will sign permanently, more of a centre half, England under 21. He's been solid, so I think we'd be maybe more likely to see him next season at left back, whereas Perez is slightly more attacking, a little bit chaotic. But since Humphries got injured, probably February time, Perez has really kicked on because he looked a bit crap really the first half of the season. But would be happy to see either of them, sort of starting. Middle of the midfield, Cullen picked himself. It's been Josh Laurent or Hannibal. Josh Laurent for probably the tougher games, and Hannibal when we're going for it a little bit more. I think Hannibal's been great. You can see there's a quality player in there. Whether we'll see him as much next season or what, I don't know. So yeah, I would probably go Hannibal over Laurent, Brownhill in front, and then your left winger Anthony, and then Edwards on the right. Then you've got Fleming up top.
Talk to me about Marcus. How's he doing?
Good. You can tell there's a real quality player in there. I don't think he's quite been as good as what I expected. But I think it's more been his presence rather than him individually. I think from when he's come in, prior to that, Anthony was a workhorse, no real end product. So Anthony's first 24 games was one assist, three goals. Anthony's last 18 has been 10 goal involvements, six assists, four goals. Edwards has only had one goal and one assist, so I think it's unfair to look at just his numbers. I think he was quite unfit when he came to us, really, and he got probably thrown in. So if he's one that we have got this obligation that we can get that over the line earlier in the summer and really kick on with him, I think he'll be a really exciting player to see, and I think there's definitely a lot more to come from him. Um,
He's the most talented kid I ever saw at Tottenham, mate.
yeah,
his progression has stalled massively. In terms of natural talent, there is no doubt in him whatsoever. My question to you is what I want to know is what's his work rate like
Not been the
in
greatest,
a
but
team that doesn't concede goals and is obviously set up
yeah.
very well.
But I think Parker's. It feels like he's left him to do. He's been that one player who's been allowed that free reign a little bit more.
A little bit
Don't
that's
think.
what Liverpool Salah a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't think in a way it's completely paid off because, like I said, his numbers aren't great. But I think it's added so much more balance to the team because in the past we've just had the first half of the season. It's been two Anthony's where you go, they work hard but no real end product. But Anthony's really come into his own since Edwards come in because it just gives us that balance. So, um, yeah, I think his fitness levels haven't been the greatest. So I think if we can get him super fit, ready for the Premier League. Um, then yeah, let's see. But like you said, there's definitely a player in there. But I've not looked. If you said to me, we've stayed down, do you want to spend 20 million pounds on him? I'd have been a bit. I'm not too sure. I don't know if we didn't get it over the line this season, I don't know if he definitely would, or whether you could go and get a similar player to him. It feels quite similar to Benson really for us in terms of how he carries the ball, which I felt sorry for him because as soon as Benson came back fit, we signed Edwards, so I was a little bit unlucky for him. But
For clarity, I absolutely hope I'd love to see him tear it up in the Premier League, mate.
yeah,
Really,
yeah,
really would. I hope it works out
yeah,
because the talent is undeniable. It's just the application and him finding something in terms of a role and a position, which is so important. Liverpool can cheat with Salah a little bit, but Edwards ain't going to get you the sort of goals that Salah gets you.
yeah,
It's not as quick as Mo. Some of the technical stuff is that Edwards could do. I don't know if he still can, but could do is outrageous when he's carrying with the ball. When he carries with the ball, we don't feel like you can get it off him. But I'd be very worried about him playing on the right against any offensive left back in the Premier League.
yeah, yeah.
And I
That's the
don't think
worry.
he contributes enough goals and assists and to or dominates enough to really be a 10 or a false nine in the Premier League either. That's my
Yeah.
concerns. So is Anthony really sort of the one from a fantasy perspective we should keep an eye on then?
Um, I don't really think it would translate into that much in the Premier League. I think he's a great one for the team. But again, I don't know how sustainable his goals and assists would be really. I'd keep a bit of a watching eye on him really. His numbers have obviously been better than Edwards is of late, and whether FPL would I would imagine that he'd probably get priced cheaper really than Edwards because he's the bigger name. So yeah, he's probably worth keeping a bit of a watchful eye on. I think the one that I'd be most sort of looking forward to see the price off really would be some of the defenders really in like Trafford and see where he came in at. But again, the worry is when we face the opposition like we do, are we going to be leaking goals? Is there a way maybe we can get us on a rotation with fixtures that works out for some? Then we'll have to see. Because I mean, it was a little bit like that under the Dyche days, and we always used to say that a Nick Pope clean sheet would come when you least expect it. So I imagine it's going to be probably similar in that really that in an open game, say when we play Leeds at some point in the season, there'll be the games where we've then got to go. We've got to go for this now because both of us need 3 points in those types of games because you're not going to get the points in the others. So we're likely to concede in those, probably both of us.
Yeah, I can't foresee that. I mean, despite your defensive numbers, Trafford's going to be five. They can't do anything like that, surely. I think based on what other promoted clubs have done in recent years, would be interesting. If we had a starter from you, Jack, that was 4.0, that would get a lot of interest, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Gents, one final question for you both, and I'll start with you, Ed. Who do you think will come up with you?
It should, on rights, be Sheffield United because they're comfortably the third best team, and if not them, Sunderland. I mean, it's quite scary if Bristol City or Coventry or Millwall even come up. I mean, God knows. I think that 11-point total could be in trouble. I don't want to be rude to them, but it's the drop off in quality is quite blatant. So hopefully Sheffield United. I think Wilder deserves as well. As much as he's a pantomime villain around these points, he's a good lad. So hopefully Sheffield United.
Would you prefer one? I know you said hopefully, but would you, if it was a Coventry or a Millwall,
Well, I guess so, yeah, but we're losing to Frank Lampard, that's 100%, so, and not Coventry.
Okay, right. You get my point, though. If it was something less established that hasn't been in the league for a really long time, did you feel more comfortable about yourselves?
Well, yeah,
That would be
they'll probably
natural, I
account
suppose.
for that'll account for 50% of our points total next season. So yeah, bring on Bristol City.
Jack, Sheffield United as well for you or someone else?
Yeah, I think they're probably the deserving of it. I think we can all probably agree on that. But I mean, we had the same opinion when Luton came up, going they've not been in the Premier League. Surely they'll be easy points for us, and they were considerably better than both us and Sheffield United last season. I don't think they were. They clearly still weren't quite good enough, but they looked like the ones that were. So, um, good luck to whoever it is. Really, I'd probably like to see someone, get a bit of a go and a chance of someone new, rather than it just being Burnley, Sheffield United come up, Burnley, Sheffield United go down, uh, every other season. But I think, yeah, it really should be Sheffield United.
Can you just briefly, Jack? I mean, obviously, Luton could go down this weekend. You obviously came up with them and went down with them. Can you believe where they are?
I had them as second this season on my prediction because I thought they'd kept pretty much most of their squad together. It's remarkable, really, to think that we'd all thought they would struggle so much last season in the Premier League. To say they pretty much outperformed, especially with their positioning, maybe not the points, but them being so much better than Vincent Kompany's Burnley, who goes on to Bayern Munich, for them to completely drop off it is just, yeah, it's crazy. I'd like to see them stay up. I don't think, it's never nice to see. Well, it's not nice to see anyone go down, but never to go, back to back relegations is definitely not nice. So hopefully they can do it at Preston's expense at the weekend.
Set you up there, didn't I, Jack? Go on then. Quick question. Who'd you rather win this weekend, Burnley or Bristol City, mate?
Um,
Bristol City are playing Preston, for those who don't know.
yeah, Bristol, gotta be.
Or is the answer Hull to to get
Yeah,
above
probably. Yeah,
to
yeah,
get above Preston?
yeah. I don't really think Plymouth can catch them. I think it's between them and Hull, really, isn't it? So yeah,
There's a
be
few
interesting.
down there in danger for the weekend. I wish them all luck. I wish the pair of you luck in your battle for the title at the weekend. Ed, anything you want to plug before we finish, mate? Great debut. Well done, mate.
No, not at all. I'm FPL Rhino, so if you want to follow me, you're welcome to, but I will not offer good advice, so probably don't bother. And that's
Uh,
that's about it.
Ed doesn't want to talk about FPL. It's not had the best season, but Ed is not a template FPL manager, and for that alone, you're worth a follow as well, mate.
Well, I will be recommending free Leeds, triple Leeds defense, so.
Okay, you'll be getting blocked in August. Jack, anything you want to plug, mate?
Yeah, at FBL Turfy Topper. No, at FPL at Turfy Topper on Twitter. I was template before the template in Chris Wood. I think I had him for far too many seasons before he actually turned out to be any good. So
Good
yeah,
stuff, mate. Thank you. Jack's very much looking forward to this podcast again in 24 months. I think it's probably the line, isn't it, Jack? Good luck. I hope it's different for both of you this time. That's it. It's Friday, isn't it? Deadline stream for those on YouTube is 5:30 p.m. UK time tonight. But to Ed and Jack, thank you, and to our Leeds and Burnley followers, congratulations. Cue music, please, man child.